Hello, hello, welcome back to the Craft Scraps. I am Lauren, and today we are going to be making a super fun coffee mug with this cute little SVG here. And so the main purpose of today's video is to, one, show you how to make a coffee mug, super duper easy, and two, show you how you can use registration marks, or like this little heart guy here, so registration mark, to make sure you can line up your layered design perfectly. So this is a pretty simple SVG, so it doesn't necessarily require a registration mark like something a little more complex, but I wanted to just quickly show you guys how you can easily use registration marks to line up your design. So if you have something simple like this and you don't want to use a registration mark, you just want to eyeball it, I'm like, girl, like, you're after my own heart because I just eyeball things. But if you want something a little more precise, this registration mark method will be for you. So let's get started. Okay, so I found this SVG in Cricut. So I just searched rainbow, and I honestly think I had to scroll pretty far down, but let's see if we can find it. Ha, here it is. Okay, so you're just gonna click on that and then click insert image. All right, so I have my SVG here, and as you can see, I've switched up the colors a little bit. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So first, what I want to do is I want to ungroup my image. So I have my SVG ungrouped, and you can see over here that we have the gold layer, the light pink layer, and the coral layer. So I want to change this gold layer into a gray layer. So I'm going to click on the gold layer over here, and I'm just going to come over here to the palette and change it to gray. And then I'm going to come over here to the coral, and I'm going to change it to more of like a hot pink fuchsia color. I think it's like this one. All right, so we have our layers ready to go. All right, and so now I'm going to make my registration mark. So basically the registration mark is just something that we're going to use to make sure all of the layers line up. So each color is going to have a little registration mark on it, and that's all this is down here. This heart, that is the registration mark. So I'm going to come over here and make my heart, and you can choose any shape that you want, but I like the heart because it's easier for me to see. And so I'm just going to place my registration mark right here below my image. And so because I have 1, 2, 3 colors, I want 1, 2, 3 registration marks. So I just came over here and hit duplicate, and you can make as many as you want. So if your rainbow had 5 colors, then you would want 5 registration marks. And the reason for that is that I'm going to come over here to color sync, and you can see that we have our bright pink layer, our light pink layer, and our gray layer. And so you can see I have my 3 hearts here because it's picking up this SVG over here. But essentially, I'm going to take each registration mark and I'm going to drag it to each layer. So gray, our light pink, and you can see all of our hearts just changed color over here. And so now we have a bright pink registration mark that's going to print out or cut out with our bright pink layer, a light pink registration mark that's going to cut out with our light pink layer, and a gray one that is going to cut out with our gray layer. And so the point of this is that we're going to line these up so they all can stack on top of each other. And so basically I'm just going to do that by hand at first, see how close I can get these. So these are stacked pretty much exactly on top. But if you don't want to waste time doing that, all you need to do is select all of your hearts, come over here to align, click center vertically, and then center horizontally, and now they are all perfectly lined up. And so I'm just going to place this in the center of my rainbow. Okay, and so now if I were just to go cut this, the hearts aren't actually attached to anything. They're just like on their own, in their own little world right now, and we can see they have their own layers over here. So what we want to do is we want to attach the gray heart or gray registration mark to the gray part of our SVG. We want to attach the light pink heart to the light pink part of our SVG, and then the bright pink heart to our bright pink layer. And so I want to start out with our gray layer. So I am just going to hide everything else except for what's gray. So I'm going to come over here to this little eyeball and I'm going to click that. So it's going to hide our pink heart, hide our bright pink heart, hide the light pink part of the rainbow, and hide the bright pink part of the rainbow. All right, so now we're just left with our gray SVG and our little heart. So for some reason, if I select both of these things and click attach, everything turns gray. And I think it's because these layers still exist there, but they're just hidden. So we don't want to do that. So the workaround I found to do this is I'm going to come over here to my layers. I'm going to click my gray heart, hold my shift key, and then I'm going to click the gray part of my rainbow and hit attach. So now we have our heart, our gray registration mark, and our gray part of our SVG attached. So now we're going to do the same thing for the light pink heart and the light pink part of the rainbow. And so all I did is I just moved this above the gray layer just so you could see it. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on the light pink registration mark, hold my shift key, and click the light pink part of the rainbow and click attach. And now lastly, we're going to do the same thing for our bright pink part of our SVG. So I just unhid those by clicking and unclicking the eye. So I'm going to click on the bright pink layer, click on the bright pink part of the rainbow, and hit attach. And so now you can see that under this attached layer here, we have our heart registration mark and the bright pink part of the SVG. This is our light pink layer and then our gray layer. All right, and so now I'm just going to select everything, and now I'm just going to size it for our mug because we're basically ready to go now. So I think I'm going to make, what is this? Oh, didn't mean to do that. I think I made it a little less than 3 by 3 just because the mug that I have, I feel like this is a good size for it. And so, oops, I'm going to get rid of this one just so you can see what it's going to look like when we go to make it. So now I'm going to, that is basically it. So now we have all of our registration marks. We have all of our layers ready to go. So if you were doing this with a more complex SVG, it's essentially the same concept as you're just going to make your registration mark, duplicate it for however many layers you want. Make sure you attach the registration mark to each individual color, and then you'll use whatever the bottom layer is as your foundation and kind of go from there. So now I'm going to click make it. So you can see we have our gray one here with our registration mark, our pink layer, and then our light pink layer. So I'm going to hit continue, and Design Space is going to find our machine, And so I'm just cutting this out of vinyl, so I'm going to click vinyl. And then I will switch you guys over to the camera so I can show you how we will make this. So this is the mug I'm going to be using today, and of course it is from the Dollar Tree, so it's just a super simple white mug. The Dollar Tree is just hands down my go-to for glassware or, you know, anything, because they just have such a good variety and it's like decent quality, and I mean, can't beat the price. So here are the 3 colors I'm going to be using for my mug. So I'm going to be using this light gray, and all 3 of these are Oracle 651. There you go, Oracle. So this is permanent vinyl. So I don't ever seal my mugs or wine glasses because it's not super necessary with permanent vinyl. Alright, so my first layer I'm going to be doing is this pretty gray, so I'm going to put this on my mat, and I'm using this light grip glue mat. This is pretty much my go-to mat. It's kind of like the perfect level of stickiness, and I just think it's perfect. So once our Cricut arrow light little guy starts blinking, we will be able to cut. Alright, so we have our light blinking, so we're just gonna click that and kind of help guide our mat in and cut. Alright, so we can unload our mat. And so I'm going to take this first piece of gray off my mat, and to take it off, I like to flip over my mat and kind of like peel the mat away. Just be careful because you don't want to bend it too much, but that'll prevent your vinyl from like getting all curly. Alright, so next we're going to do this bright pink, like fuchsia kind of color. So same thing, I'm just going to throw it on my mat here. And now we're going to put our lighter pink on. So same process. And cut. Alright, so our light pink is done, so we can take that off the mat as well. Alright, so get our machine out of the way. Alright, and so now what I'm going to do is we are going to weed out or get rid of all of this excess vinyl that we don't need. So we're going to just be left with our letters. So I like to just pick up a corner, and so because this design kind of like goes like this, like a rainbow, I'm gonna pick up this like bottom corner and I'm gonna peel it that way. And so I want to just make sure everything that is supposed to stay on the carrier sheet stays. So this little rainbow guy like does not want to come up, so I'm just gonna put my weeding tool on like the edge and just kind of like force it through, because it's cut, but sometimes when you peel up, even if it's cut through, it doesn't want to go along with the vinyl. So we just want to go kind of slow, just make sure nothing gets left behind. Alright, so we are left with our first little layer here, and so I'm just going to go back and take out these middles. Alright, so we have our Believe in Magic layer. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing with my light pink layer, is I'm just going to pick up a corner and just drag away. And same with this hot pink. I just trimmed off the edge a little bit. Alright, and so now we are left with our, oops, sorry, hit the camera. So now we're left with our 3 layers here. So a couple of things. One, I'm going to use this bigger one as like kind of my foundation. So I'm going to transfer everything to this carrier sheet, and then once everything is there, then we can put it on our mug. So the transfer tape I'm going to be using is, I believe this is Oracle. It's their clear grid transfer tape. You guys know I love my masking transfer tape, but for this I want to be able to see through it, and that masking transfer tape is just a little too opaque. The reason why I put this little registration mark there, like I explained earlier, is because that's what I want to focus on lining up so that I know that everything is going to be lined up. This design is so simple, honestly you don't really need it, but I just wanted to kind of show you what the purpose of the registration mark was. If you don't want to use a registration mark for something this simple, you definitely don't need to. I just wanted to kind of show you guys, if you had a more complex image, this could really help you line everything up. And also there's other methods to layer images. I just like this one the best, and honestly this heart is so cute, I'm probably gonna leave it in the design, but if I wasn't, I would just cut it off once everything was lined up. So I'm gonna start with this light pink rainbow. So I'm gonna just take off my transfer tape, and I'm gonna use the same sheet of transfer tape for this whole thing because I don't want to waste. So I'm just gonna put this right on top. Make sure it is scraped down good. Flip over my carrier sheet and vinyl and just kind of peel away so it's stuck to my transfer tape. So now I am mainly gonna just focus on lining up these hearts as perfectly as possible, and everything else should line up perfectly as well. Alright, so that's as good as I can get it. So now I'm just gonna push down the pink, make sure it sticks, and then peel away the transfer tape, trying to be careful not to peel away any of the gray vinyl with it. Alright, and then lastly, I'm going to do the bright pink layer, or the fuchsia. Transfer it to my transfer tape. I'm going to peel away the carrier sheet. Now I'm going to transfer this to my layered image, and again, just focusing on lining the hearts up. So that's as close as I'm going to get it. And so now, since this is my final layer, I'm going to just smooth everything down because now it's basically good to go. Because now what I want to do is I want to transfer this whole thing to the mug. So I'm going to make sure everything is smooth. And so now I'm going to peel off the carrier sheet. So we're left with it on our transfer tape. So how I like to peel off, I'll zoom in a little bit. How I like to peel away the carrier sheets, I like to press and peel. So I'm kind of pressing as I'm peeling. Alright, so we have our final layered image here. So now, moment of truth, we're going to transfer it onto our mug. So I'm going to put it on this side. And so I'm going to just center this as best as I possibly can. And I'm going to kind of fold it a little bit into like a hot dog. so I can get the center down first. And then I can just gradually smooth down the rest. Just kind of like, see, I'm kind of like rolling it down to try and avoid as much bubbles. And now I'm gonna go back with my scraper and just scrape it down real good. And now, moment of truth, we can peel away our transfer tape. And again, I'm gonna just kind of like press and peel just in case anything doesn't want to stick. And there's our mug. And so care directions for these are no microwave, no dishwasher, hand wash only, gentle. And then before you use it or give it away or do whatever you're gonna do with it, definitely make sure you let it sit for at least 24 to 48 hours to let the vinyl cure. Alright guys, so that is it. I hope you enjoyed this super cute mug, and I didn't even mean to, but this is really cute for Valentine's Day, so I think it definitely works for the holiday. So if you guys like this, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, happy crafting!